Welcome to your weekend review here on WINN FM 98.9 for the period December 23rd through 28th. Making the news last week, Royal St. Christopher and Nevis Police Force reports 57% homicide resolution rate for 2024. Dr. Harris defends Development Bank amid criticism during budget debate. Former Prime Minister Harris raises alarm over budget deficits in St. Kitts and Nevis. Dr. Joel Clark celebrates achievements in climate financing efforts for the Federation. Leroy Boone sentenced to 4 years for indecent assault. Justice Patrick Thompson Jr. sentences manslaughter defendants for egregious murders in McKnight.
Brantley calls for a reassessment of social safety net programs. Minister of Parliament Sean Richards says budget presentation appears to be a recital.
Now the details. The Royal St. Christopher and Nevis Police Force has issued a report on the homicide resolution rate for 2024, solving 16 out of 28 homicides committed across the Federation, resulting in a resolution rate of 57%. In comparison, 2023 saw the police force reporting 26 cases. However, the resolution rate for that year was markedly lower at 46%, as 12 cases were solved. The increase in homicides from 2023 to 2024, despite the improved resolution rate, signals ongoing challenges in crime prevention and public safety measures in St. Kitts and Nevis. The police force attributes its notable success in 2024 to several strategic advancements. Increased officer training has been a cornerstone in enhancing investigative skills and techniques. The training has included modern methodologies and technology, enabling officers to tackle complex cases more effectively. Moreover, the force has emphasized strong interagency collaboration, pooling resources and intelligence across different law enforcement agencies to combat homicide more effectively. Enhanced engagement with the public has also played a critical role, as community members are essential partners in identifying leads and providing information that can break cases wide open. Examining the broader context, 2022 was marked by an even higher number of homicides at 30, the highest in recent years, with a resolution rate of 40%, solving only 12 cases that year. The troubling trend illustrates the ongoing challenges faced by law enforcement in reducing violent crimes and ensuring unsolved cases do not linger. The increased murder figures, particularly the leap from 2020's figure, continue to prompt discussions on the socioeconomic factors contributing to violent incidents across the Federation. The increase from 2022 to 2023 and then the number of cases solved in 2024 reflects a continuous upward trajectory in violence and resolution. According to the police, strategically addressing the root causes of crime while enhancing investigative practices has been pivotal to these efforts. Looking forward to 2025, the force expressed commitment to further improvements. One key objective is to boost crime resolution rates and use the successes of 2024 to tackle further unsolved cases. The Royal St. Christopher and Nevis Police Force plans to expand community outreach efforts for at-risk youth, bolstering preventative measures by engaging younger populations in constructive activities and diverting them from crime. Investments in forensic and investigative technology are also on the agenda, aiming to increase efficiency and enable more precise solutions to complex cases. Strengthening community partnerships will remain essential as the Royal St. Christopher and Nevis Police Force seeks to improve cooperative relationships between law enforcement and community members to create a safer environment. In defense of the Development Bank of St. Kitts and Nevis, former Prime Minister, the Honourable Dr. Timothy Harris, used the recent budget debates to highlight what he perceives as mischaracterizations of the bank's financial standing and its critical role in the economy. Amid ongoing allegations regarding fund mismanagement under his administration, he lobbied those sentiments to the current Labour administration, asserting the institution's imperative function in safeguarding economic stability.
Development Bank is not a deposit bank. Development Bank lends in accordance with public policy,
he explained, emphasizing its integral role as a lender for educational loans, mortgages, and small business support. Addressing the notion of financial mismanagement, he pointed to the bank's track record under the leadership of his brother Len Harris, who was CEO of the bank at the time of his alleged dismissal.
The Development Bank, when he joined, was at 43 million. When they forced him out and forced him to take legal action against them in court, It is my brother Lenwood Harris who initiated an action for unfair dismissal against the government.
Harris's defense of his brother was an attempt to highlight the bank's profitability and ability to operate without government subsidies, further arguing against the perception that the bank requires a government bailout.
You hear them come here and they talk about we had to bail it out. We bail out what?
He underscored that the Development Bank had consistently recorded profits, stating it was, quote, the largest lender of educational loans in the country, end quote, providing essential funding for students and families. Throughout his remarks, Harris conveyed a sense of urgency regarding the accusations against the Development Bank, characterizing them as politically motivated and unfounded.
But here are the facts because the matter is sub judice. So I'm not getting into that aspect of it.
He stated, reinforcing the complexity of the situation and the necessity of facts over speculation. Moreover, he addressed the broader economic implications of the Development Bank's operations, linking its role to national development.
The bank accounted for 32% of all residential family home mortgages in St. Kitts and Nevis. Over $125 million.
He detailed, pointing to the significant economic impact the institution has on housing and lending within the community. Harris's rebuttal extended to the government's fiscal policies, particularly highlighting the challenges faced by businesses and individuals during the COVID-19 pandemic. He outlined the previous administration's efforts to protect the Development Bank and the broader economy.
So we allowed that. So of course the bank would not pay. But it did so with the knowledge and the approval of the cabinet of the country.
He clarified, indicating that measures were taken to support those most affected during the crisis. Dr. Harris's defense reiterates the Development Bank's significant role in St. Kitts and Nevis and the complex dynamics of governmental decisions and economic management. With increasing scrutiny on financial practices and public institutions, Harris calls for a balanced understanding of the development narrative in the country, one that acknowledges both the challenges and the successes of entities like the Development Bank. During the recent budget debates for 2025, former Prime Minister and leader of the People's Labour Party, PLP, the Honourable Dr. Timothy Harris, expressed a profound concern about the government's projected budget deficits, underscoring a critical issue facing the nation. Addressing the Assembly, he emphasized the importance of closely examining the government's projections, which indicate a staggering deficit of $237.8 million for 2024. Harris articulated the gravity of the situation by stating,
the government for 2024 is predicting by its own report a huge sum of $237 million in 2024. And if we thought that was bad, it gets worse.
According to Harris, this alarming prediction is accompanied by a further projected deficit of $28.5 million for 2025, leading to a combined deficit of almost $300 million over 2 years. He expressed disbelief that such deficits could arise when, in his view, there are no significant developmental projects or emergencies like COVID-19 to account for such financial mismanagement. Key to Harris's argument is the apparent lack of accountability from the current government.
We need to know, for in the absence of an extraordinary development in the country, how do we explain that kind of reckless development in St. Kitts and Nevis?
He questioned demanding transparent explanations for the overspending reflected in the draft estimates. Harris pointed out the projected drop in revenues, particularly from the Citizenship by Investment CBI program, which is expected to decline by $305 million from the previous year's earnings. Harris criticized the government's approach to economic management, highlighting that the economy, which had grown by 9%, is now projected to grow only by 1.5% in 2024. There are hopes of a slight recovery to 2.5% in 2025.
An economy that we left which grew by 9% has fallen to 1.5% in 2024. And we hope that in 2025, their prediction of 2.5% would be realized.
He suggested, pointing toward a worrying trend of stagnation and fiscal irresponsibility. In his statement, Harris addressed the broader implications of these deficits for citizens' everyday lives. Harris lamented the rampant inflation that has made necessities increasingly unaffordable.
Nobody seemed to be concerned that people go to Value Mart, to Rams, to Best Buy, and in every shop, and they are embarrassed at how little they can afford.
He noted, connecting the government's financial failures directly to the struggles faced by ordinary families. Moreover, Harris highlighted the current administration's perceived negligence regarding public expenditures. He took particular issue with the government's plan to allocate $14 million for a museum honoring a national hero, arguing that such spending is inappropriate when many citizens struggle to meet their basic needs.
You are going to tell me 45, 46 years after my death, we are spending money to create what? An illusion, a dream, when the very actions of the man who you're attempting to pay tribute to are contrary to what you're doing.
The former Prime Minister, in his remarks, urged the government to reconsider its priorities and approach to economic management.
The best Christmas gift we will have is when this incompetent government goes away,
he declared, further iterating a call for transparency and action to alleviate the financial burdens facing the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. As the budget discussions concluded, Dr. Harris's questions are in the minds of citizens who are eager for clarity and accountability regarding their government's fiscal management. How the current administration will respond to these challenges remains to be seen. St. Kitts and Nevis is making significant strides in climate financing as outlined in the remarks by the Honourable Dr. Joel Clark, the Minister of Sustainable Development, Environment, Climate Action and Constituency Empowerment. Addressing the Parliament during the 2025 budget debates on December 18, 2024, Dr. Clark emphasized the importance of international partnerships and collaboration in advancing the nation's environmental goals.
We must always be responsible and don't allow people who are paid for slander to fool you, to misconstrue, and to turn the work of our ministry into what it is not.
She stated, highlighting the ministry's dedication to fostering genuine relationships with global partners for sustainable development. Dr. Clark reported that the Green Climate Fund, GCF, has been a pivotal ally in funding climate initiatives within the Federation. Since its inception, the GCF has approved over $16 million in climate mitigation projects, particularly those that benefit Nevis's geothermal drilling campaign through the Sustainable Energy Facility for the Eastern Caribbean. Additionally, $5.3 million in readiness financing has been allocated to enhance local institutions' capacity to tackle climate challenges effectively. These efforts include preparing financial institutions for accreditation, conducting vulnerability assessments across key sectors like tourism and agriculture, and establishing comprehensive frameworks for national climate governance. Dr. Clark underscored that these advancements were only possible through meaningful collaboration with regional and international partners. The minister also detailed future initiatives further to solidify St. Kitts and Nevis's commitment to sustainability. A notable project is formulating a national adaptation plan with a budget of $3 million set to launch in early 2025. This plan will focus on institutional reforms and legislative reviews essential for adapting to climate change. Moreover, Dr. Clark expressed gratitude to the government of India for supporting small businesses through grant funding that could amount to $1 million per project. As the Federation prepares to host several high-profile conferences in 2025, including the Green Climate Fund Regional Dialogue and the Global Sustainable Island Summit, Dr. Clark's narrative encapsulates a year filled with achievements and a forward-looking perspective aimed at strengthening St. Kitts and Nevis's status as a regional leader in climate resilience and sustainable development. In her concluding remarks, Dr. Clark noted that the total funds committed to the Federation for various resilience projects has reached over $113 million US, This includes investment in the fishery sector, biodiversity protection, and land management. The Climate Action Minister reiterated the need for active participation in securing international funding, emphasizing,
"We have to go get it." So don't let nobody who is paid to slander the work of the Ministry of Environment, Sustainable Development, Climate Action, Constituency Empowerment, Parks and Beaches, and Solid Waste Management without work and without bringing the money. Some of them nearly get all this money to put nonsense on the internet about the work that we are doing. But after a year of not responding to you, this was an adequate response, was it not? $113,557,654.32 for US dollars for St. Kitts and Nevis.
As St. Kitts and Nevis transition towards sustainable island development, the comprehensive strategies and funding initiatives outlined by Dr. Clark highlight the government's proactive approach to addressing climate change challenges effectively through collaboration and innovation. In a sexual assault case, Leroy Boone was convicted in November 2024 for indecently assaulting the 15-year-old daughter of a friend. His offenses included forcibly kissing the young girl on the mouth, as well as other places about her body over her clothing. The assault occurred in November 2023. His Lordship Justice Patrick Thompson Jr. announced the sentences in the following case on December 19, 2024.
Mr. Boone's victim was several weeks shy of her 16th birthday when this indecent assault occurred. There was some argument by Mr. Boone's counsel that his client's offending did not fall into Level A, the most serious level on the guideline, as the assault did not involve direct contact with the victim's genitalia. His lawyer accepted that the age disparity, Mr. Boone was age 52 at the time, and the abuse of the trust reposed in him as family friend and coach of the victim would automatically qualify this matter for Level A seriousness. Even making allowances for the fact that this offense did not involve direct contact with the victim's genitalia, this offense was a serious violation of the victim's bodily integrity. This court accepts that this offense, though serious, is not the most serious form of indecent assault. This court is all the same required to fashion a starting point of 40% of the maximum penalty of 10 years imprisonment, with a range of 35% to 50% of the maximum penalty.
The maximum penalty is 10 years imprisonment, but Justice Thompson Jr. ruled that given the seriousness of the crime, a range of 3.5 to 5 years imprisonment is consistent with the guidelines. The victim had an SBA or school-based assessment and could not complete it on her own device. Her father advised her to complete it at Boone's residence, a trusted friend.
The victim told her father she did not want to go to Mr. Boone's house. And Mr. Boone, in the presence of her father, said, "What? Are you afraid that I'm going to hold you up and kiss you up?" This is exactly what happened. He held her and he kissed her up. It is noteworthy that instead of querying Mr. Boone's veiled threat to assault his daughter, the victim's father ordered her to go down to Boone's house to get her work done.
The judge, in his ruling, addressed what many sexual assault victims go through after such an incident.
The victim impact statement confirms that the victim now resents physical touch, whether from males or females, and has isolated herself from her friends and from going to school. She has developed anger problems and developed a dislike for her father, who failed to protect her. The impact of Mr. Boone's offending is likely to be felt for years to come, and the Social Development Department is ordered to provide the victim with such counseling and or psychological support as she needs.
Boone has been remanded for 3 months and 11 days and was sentenced to serve a term of 4 years imprisonment, less the 3 months and 11 days spent on remand. Additionally, because the victim impact statement demonstrates the psychological injury that the victim has suffered and is likely to continue to suffer, Boone is ordered to pay a sum of $1,750 to the court no later than April 30th, 2025, for payment to the victim for the costs of any therapeutic intervention she may require. He will be brought back to court if Boone fails to pay. On December 19th, 2024, His Lordship Justice Patrick Thompson Jr. delivered the final verdicts in the high-profile case involving Tabari Roberts and Jelani Duncan. Both defendants pled guilty to manslaughter in the tragic deaths of Jaquan Merritt and Lamonte Heiliger, who were fatally shot on January 11th, 2021 in the McKnight community. Duncan acknowledged his responsibility through a plea of unlawful act manslaughter, admitting he provided his service weapon, issued to him as a member of the defense force, to Roberts. Meanwhile, Roberts pled guilty to manslaughter because of provocation, claiming he acted in self-defense after Merritt allegedly brandished a fake firearm during a dispute over a $100 debt. Justice Thompson characterized the crime as egregious, recounting the violent encounter at Roberts' home where Merritt confronted Roberts about a loan of $300 that had not been fully repaid.
The killing of Heiliger is particularly egregious since he posed no threat to either man. Heiliger was unarmed and was shot in the back several times. Roberts killed both Merritt and Heiliger, and Duncan, in handing over his firearm as opposed to using his firearm to defuse the argument, must have recognized that one or both of Heiliger and Merritt may die. Duncan's actions in handing over the firearm calls into question the means by which persons become members of this country's defense force. This court is not aware of the enlistment or recruitment process, but Duncan's actions demonstrate serious deficits in Duncan's decision-making and in those who invested him with that tremendous responsibility of carrying a firearm. Duncan's decision to deliberately part with his firearm was not a simple error of judgment. Duncan deliberately repudiated the oath that he had taken with deadly consequences.
Tensions escalated during the argument, which involved questioning whether Merritt and Heiliger intended to rob or shoot Roberts. It was during this confrontation that Merritt was struck by a gunshot to the head, delivered by Roberts using Duncan's service pistol. Heiliger, standing behind Merritt, was chased and shot multiple times in the back as he attempted to escape. After the shooting, both defendants engaged in actions to conceal their crimes, including moving Merritt's body to a vacant lot and collecting spent shell casings. In his remarks, Justice Thompson elaborated on the details leading to their guilty pleas, emphasizing the severity of both men's actions. He pointed out that the use of a firearm contributed significantly to the aggravating factors, which escalated their culpability under the homicide offenses guidelines of the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court. The judge stated that Duncan's culpability fell into the very high category, as he should have recognized the potential for lethal consequences in handing over his loaded weapon. Conversely, Roberts was deemed to fall into the medium category for his provoking circumstances. Consequently, he set the starting points for sentencing at 24 years for Duncan and 20 years for Roberts. Looking ahead, Justice Thompson articulated that although both men received credit for their guilty pleas, their awareness of their actions warranted heftier sentences. With Roberts being the one who pulled the trigger, he was deemed more culpable, which led to a sentence of 30 years imprisonment, with time already served on remand deducted. Duncan received a sentence of 29 years and 3 months, adjusted for remand time. In his closing remarks, Justice Thompson reminded the court that no sentence could adequately address the loss and grief experienced by the victims' families. The case, notorious for its violence over a minor sum of money, serves as a grim reminder of the consequences of reckless decisions and the profound impact of gun violence in society.
Social programs take up a considerable amount of funds from the federal budget. And as the budget debate came around yet again, Premier of Nevis Mike Brantley has re-emphasized his stance that the government of St. Kitts and Nevis should restructure the social programs system. Brantley, in his appearance on WINN FM's Inside the News on December 21, 2024, expressed that a restructuring of the social support system would help to reduce the amount spent on them and bring more focus on the needs of the most vulnerable.
A country like ours, it is unsustainable to spend $300 million a year on social programs, to spend 1/4 of your budget each year on social programs. And I have been a harsh critic of the federal government in particular, because over here, especially things like the electricity subsidy, there is no means testing. There is no income cutoff. So whether you are, I don't know where the salaries are paid, but whether you are the CEO of TDC, making $30,000 or $40,000 a month, whatever that CEO may make, or you are a worker up at the factory, making $400 a week, you got the same subsidy. That can't be right. Because there are people who are at a certain level where the state should not be extending its hand to them. Social programs, by their nature, are intended to be and ought to be directed at those in the community that need that hand up, that need that assistance. They should be focused on that single mother. And let me put it this way, if our social programs were more focused, you may well find that we spend less money, but we get more into the hands of those who really need it.
Cutting social program dependencies has been quite tough as one program replaces another and people continue to demand more. Brantley said politicians have contributed to that level of entitlement.
1/4 of our national budget is spent on social programs. That is unheard of. And yet our people continue to remonstrate and demonstrate that they didn't get a double, they didn't get enough. When this Aspire program of $1,000 to our children was announced, I heard people saying, well, that for the children, what for me? And I am going to say something which I hope is not controversial. I don't really blame our people, because we, the politicians, have contributed to that mentality. And I got some blows. I don't know if you recall, was it 2 years ago when I said I did not believe in this automatic double salary story?
Yes.
Oh man, they wanted to tar and feather me. But my argument was simple. You give everybody a double salary. It's not based on any performance. It's not based on whether you come to work early or you commit or you operate. You could be in the rum shop down the road there, down in McKnight right now drinking rum when you're supposed to be working. You get the same double salary as the diligent worker. What that says to me, therefore, is that the double salary can act as a disincentive for hard-working public servants. Because they say, well, at the end of the day, I get in the same as Johnny, and Johnny don't come to work. And what I advocated instead was something that was performance-based. Not that I'm against bonus payments, but something that's performance-based, where Tom, who is on time and diligent and works hard and is reliable and dependable, can look forward to a bonus based on that. And Johnny, who don't come to work and have more sick leave than work, no, he can't get no bonus because he did not perform. Around the world and in the private sector, that's how things go. I don't know nobody in the private sector automatically gets pay, additional money. But that created a huge stir. And even my fellow politicians, some of them jumped on the bandwagon. Cuss Mark, Mark Brantley got money, so you don't care about poor people and this and that. So we have contributed to this that we are seeing.
The government implemented subsidies in several critical sectors, including health and energy. And in Brantley's view, people seem to take those things for granted.
But people take all of those things for granted. They don't see that there's a cost involved, that the state is picking up the tab, so to speak. And so for them, that is nothing. The subsidy on electricity, that's nothing.
Several safety net structures and subsidized initiatives were set up to prevent people from ending up in poverty. Sean Richards, Member of Parliament for Constituency Number 5, rose on Day 4 to contribute to the fiscal year 2025 budget debate. Richards declared that the budget presentation delivered by the Prime Minister and Minister of Finance, Dr. Terence Drew, on December 16 appeared to be a recital. The opposition MP slammed Dr. Drew for his constant repetition of specific issues. He said people are growing tired of the repetition and would rather hear more about what would be of benefit to them.
Madam Speaker, as I listened in particular on Monday, I said to myself, that this appears to be some sort of recital. I said that it appears to be some sort of recital because there are some things that you heard being mentioned quite a bit and other things of substance, of importance to the people you heard very little about. And why do I say there was the usual recitation? Development Bank, throughout the presentation, several times you heard about Development Bank. And the truth is that persons out there saying they're tired of hearing Development Bank, Development Bank, Development Bank. Just about every presentation coming from the member for number 8, Development Bank. Social security, social security, social security, social security.
Peace program, peace program, peace program, peace program. The CBI, CBI, CBI. And the refrain continues, Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker. While persons were listening to hear how this budget is going to positively impact them, those are the things that they were hearing over and over again throughout the presentation. And the fact is that persons out there are saying they are tired of hearing these things. Tired of hearing it, Madam Speaker. And I don't know if there's something, because when you look at it, it's more directed at the former Prime Minister, the member for number 7, rather than anyone else.
In Richard's view, too much emphasis had been placed on who did what and who didn't finish what, thereby giving a reminder that government is continuous and people expect that sitting governments would do better than the previous.
You also heard many excuses and much blame as to why we are where we currently are. Who is responsible for this? Who didn't spend properly? Who didn't maintain this? Who did this? But we had to finish it. And one also must accept that government is continuous. There are some things, Madam Speaker, that you will meet as a government that you have to build upon. As a matter of fact, when you campaign to persons, you campaign to do better, to bring a better society to the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. And so persons want to know how you are going to deliver that better society. What are the things that you've put in place to ensure that at the end of the day, you deliver on the mandate which the persons gave to you to develop the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis?
Richards expressed that people want to hear about relief from inflationary pressures and the delivery of the housing revolution that was so widely spoken about. The opposition MP lamented that people in the public domain are turned off, and it is left up to whomever it may concern to listen to the people, take their advice, and make the necessary changes to improve their presentations.
You were listening to the Week in Review here on WINN FM 98.9. Thank you for listening and have a productive week.